Hi guys, and welcome to this really special interview with Emma from Diamond Dental Staff. So Emma, thank you for joining us today. Can you give us a little bit of an intro on yourself and your business?
Of course I can. Firstly, thank you so much for having me join you today. So as you mentioned, my name is Emma Anastasi. I am a registered dental nurse with the GDC. I'm also the founding director of Diamond Dental Staff, and we are dental recruitment consultancy specialists. So I started my career as a dental receptionist many years ago. Prior to that, I didn't have any dental experience. I just had a really lovely practice manager that sort of believed in me and saw, I guess, someone that she felt personality-wise fitted within her team, which is really important. Excuse me. And then I went on to King's College Hospital and I qualified there as a dental nurse in 2012. I then joined a multidisciplinary specialist practice called Darwin and Tanner, and worked within like many of the specialists there, from endo to ortho to implants. It was just a really incredible time and experience. Qualified in radiography, so I was working at their sister company as a dental radiographer. Also did a little bit of treatment coordinating. And then I moved to Brighton and I was managing a practice in West Sussex for just over a year. And then during that time, if I'm completely honest with you, I had a bad experience with a recruitment agency as a candidate, and that I was headhunting for a position. And then I had a bad experience with working with maybe 3 or 4 different agencies to try and help me build my team. I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting the support that I needed. I wasn't getting the applicants that I was looking for. And I guess I took that as inspiration to launch my own thing. So that's how Diamond Dental Staff was born. And we've just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary. So that's it in a nutshell, a big nutshell.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a couple of clients at the moment that are struggling with recruitment, especially when it comes to dental nurses. So if we could just go through a few, topics on how possibly it can maybe help, get dental nurses in, recruitment, train, and also like maybe just discuss some apprenticeships and the best way to kind of get people and keep them, basically.
Okay, cool. I mean, there's so many different options in that. There's we're helping a lot of trainee dental nurses at the moment, and actually there's so many that have gone down this self-funded route. So these are dental nurses that are paying between £2,000 and £3,000 to self-fund their dental nursing course, and they're really struggling with finding a practice. And I'll tell you why that is. Because of the whole COVID situation, dental practices are working with reduced team members and they can't facilitate that training or that supervision, or they can't have someone join them at that point without a thorough induction in cross-infection protocols and policies. So it's hard for dental practice to introduce a trainee, but then so many dental nurses didn't re-register with the GDC last year. They went on to do other things, which means that there's a massive shortage. So if dental practices don't give others the opportunity to train as a dental nurse with them, there's going to be even more of a shortage in the next 8 to 12 months, which would be a really great shame. So we have to try and encourage our dental clients, dental practices to consider taking on the trainee.
Perfect. So would you recommend, say for instance, you've got nurses that haven't re-registered with the GDC and they have maybe left because of furlough or for other reasons, to rather than looking for outsourced, dental nurses, to maybe look at training somebody that's already in the practice?
Absolutely. I mean, we're solution specialists, so we're not quick fix, quickly find someone because we're desperate or put someone somewhere temporarily. That's not at all our style. Everything that we do is for long-term, is a long-term goal. So I guess in terms of like building the Diamond Dental Staff community and the clients that we work with, train and retain is something that we emphasize on each and every conversation, because it is costly. If someone was to leave, it puts such a strain and so much stress on other team members finding the replacement, you know, unless you're super lucky and super fortunate to find someone really quickly. The recruitment period can go on for many weeks, sometimes months. And of course, when other team members want to take some annual leave and they can't because you're short-staffed, it's not creating a happy environment for everyone else. So we're all about dynamics and harmony and trying to find the right balance. And one way to try and secure that is by incentivizing your team members, is by just spending time with them to understand what their career progression plans are and helping them grow within the team, making them feel part of the team and part of the practice's growth as well is essential and really important for that long-term recruitment drive, I guess.
So just looking back at your description that you gave of your career path earlier on, so you were a prime example of that. You know, you were recruited with no dental experience, you started at reception and then you moved up. And that was presented to you from the practice manager, is that correct?
It was, yeah. And actually she's a dear friend of mine. I'm still in contact with her now. And I guess for us, we've got dental clients that say, okay, we're looking for someone that has dental experience, previous dental receptionist experience. But that shouldn't be an essential. If you have the time to train them, there's so many wonderful applicants that we're receiving from hospitality sector or from other medical sectors that have transferable skills, and even some that don't have any experience at all in reception or admin, but they've got some sort of sales or customer service skills. So as a gold standard, like we interview all of our applicants or like community members. We've got quite a strict application process, but once qualified they become our community members. And for the applicants that don't have that experience, we see something in them that we know that they would just be great because they've got that charisma, or they've got that warm, friendly, lovely personality that you would want at front of house. That's who you want to welcome your patients as soon as they step through the door, or someone that answers the phone in a really lovely, positive, welcoming way. And there's that Richard Branson quote, isn't there, that says something like you can train someone to do a job, but you can't teach them to smile.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really stuck with me. And that's why, yes, you can look at someone's CV and they might have all the qualifications and have everything on paper, but personality wise, what are their personal attributes? What can they bring to the team? How are they going to work with your existing team members? So I guess like for us, we try and find someone that, you know, you meet someone and their energy is really infectious and they just light up a room. They're like the sort of superstars that we're sort of looking for. But then with that equally, we know how much of an impact it can make if you make the wrong hire, and it's like having a bad apple, isn't it, in the fruit bowl? How that, you know, it just spoils everything for everyone else. So I think one thing that we were wanting to talk about is how you ascertain the good from the bad. Yeah, and I guess, you know, have a really good, thorough interview with them. So some of the interview questions that we ask on our interviews are to get like a real sense for them as a person. We ask them what challenges they've overcome. We don't have any yes or no answers or questions. There's no trick questions. It is just to get a sense of them and what they understand a certain topic. So we ask them about patient confidentiality. We ask them about teamwork and communication skills. We ask them about equality and diversity, which is a big, massive one for us. And we ask them what they can bring to the role. We ask them what their 3 to 5 year plans are or goals are, or what their next step is in their career. Just like little things like that. I think those sort of questions, you really get a good sense of that individual.
Perfect. So just looking at, before we actually get to the interview stage, how would you say would be the best way for, you know, to ask for CVs or to ask for, you know, people to apply? I mean, do you think it's best just to get a load of CVs sent through, or is it best to do like a handwritten or a video?
That would actually be like an absolute nightmare. And I think one of the benefits is working with an agency or with an agency, right? One of the benefits is that often they have their own database. They're already in conversation with people that they know are looking. It might be that they've already been interviewed, we've got all their compliance documents, we've got their references to hand. So we're in that really sort of fortunate position now, in that if a practice calls us and says, I'm looking for someone, we've got such a great relationship with our community members that we're like, oh my god, that's exactly what Rachel's looking for, that's exactly what, you know, whoever's like would be perfect for this role, because we sort of make that time to interview them, find out what their plans are, and then carefully match them. But with our job ads now that we put out, that you have to appreciate that for our dental receptionist roles, sometimes we receive like 400, 600 applications just for one dental receptionist position. We have to sift through all of those and give everyone the same opportunity. Some of them have experience, some of them don't have experience. For some of our dentist positions, we were getting applications from lorry drivers and bricklayers, but we still have to spend time going through each and every application. So one way that we sifted through the larger numbers, the 400s, the 600s, is we sent them all an email saying like, thank you so much for expressing an interest in this role. We are hosting a webinar on how to become a dental professional or how to become a dental receptionist. These are the details. And then that really helped us to bring 400 down to say 20, and then 20 down to 10, and then 10 down to 5 or 2 even. And that's how we managed it. But then the applicants that we got from that are the people that registered onto the course, showed how committed they are. So then actually when we went to introduce them to our client, even though our client asked for someone with dental experience, we've shared their CV, their video interview, a certificate of attending our How to Become a Dental Receptionist webinar. And with that, we went through a lot of their like the roles of a receptionist. We talked about safeguarding, we talked about patient confidentiality, GDPR, each role within dentistry. So it gave them that nice insight, but we knew that actually we had to do something to sort of sift through. So that's what we done. But for dental practices or practice managers or principals that are sending out job ads themselves, I'd say be really specific with the job description that you put down. Set really clear instructions to qualify them. So if you would like a cover letter to be uploaded, and that's an essential part of the application process, any applicant that hasn't uploaded a cover letter already, that's quite a big detail that they've missed out. So that's test number one that they've failed for me, in that if they're missing that in this, what are they going to miss in a dental setting when they're sort of managing correspondence from patients or partners? So that's one example. Also, a lot of the job sites now, you could add like filters to say how many years experience they have. So I'd set those parameters as well, like, are you registered with the GDC? Do you have at least a minimum of 2 years experience in a certain role? Now, it's nice to have all those things, but even still, you still have bricklayers suggesting that they're registered with the GDC, which is quite funny.
Okay. Okay. So just to go back to what's happening currently as well with the COVID scenario.
Yeah.
Because obviously dentistry is now seen as a essential business to be open.
Yeah.
As part of our job here, we're obviously really pushing the fact that dental practice is safe, dental practices are open, you can still come and get your checkups, you can still come and get consultations. But we're really, really pushing for the patients to say that they're safe. Obviously, it's still really, really important to make sure that the team know that they're safe in this as well. So do you have any advice for say dental practices at the moment on what they can do to really help retain their staff by dealing with certain COVID protocols?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even just COVID protocols, but I guess all the applicants that we speak with, we always ask, why is it you're leaving your previous practice, or, why are you applying for this role? And often it always comes down to like a breakdown of communication or avoiding confrontation. And it's not even confrontation. I guess some people don't feel comfortable or confident enough to approach their managers or the principal dentist to share how they're really feeling. And actually that's such a shame, and that's really costly to a manager and a principal dentist, because if you don't have that open door policy. If your own team members don't feel comfortable to approach you and talk to you about something, they're going to avoid it completely and they're just going to leave. And then you're going to lose that opportunity to sit with them, understand what it is that you may perhaps be able to support them with. That opportunity is sort of ripped from the carpet beneath you. So I guess really trying to, another thing that we hear is that team members request to speak to their practice managers or principals, and often they're so short for time that a week turns into a day, then it's a fortnight, then it was a month ago since one of the team members had requested to sit down and have a chat with them, and they've just blocked out that time, or they just haven't been able to manage it. So I guess trying to diarise and plan out just little 5-minute catch-ups, cup of tea and a catch-up and a biscuit. How are you getting on? How are you finding things? What can we improve on? Do you feel safe? So once, I'm not sure if you saw this, Jay, but once dental practices started to reopen again, we actually produced a return to work after furlough document. And we had like this whole wellness spin on it. And actually it wasn't just for the practices to maintain their HR procedures or, you know, policies, but also to have it as an open conversation to play tennis and for it to go both ways. So some of the questions on there was how the practice can support this team member, because you don't know how the pandemic has affected, it's affected us all differently, hasn't it? Yeah. So to ask what support is required for them, but also for the practice to then be able to be open and vulnerable and share, look, this is a vulnerable time for all of us. This is what we need help with. What can you bring to the team? Like, where can you see yourself sort of fitting in with our new way of working? And I think with that, it supported a lot of practice managers in then being able to delegate certain tasks. Because I think typically practice managers are known for wearing 1,000 million hats and maybe not being too good at asking for help when they could pass it on to other team members for that support. And I think one thing that we always trying to encourage is like that team player ethic and supporting your team with whatever it is that you are able to.
Excellent. Okay, great. So it's really, really good that you have that as part of, you know, a service that you provided for, you know, the clients that you have. You know, it's something a little extra. I mean, here at Connect, we always try to kind of give that little bit of, you know, extra support, especially coming out of things, you know, like, you know, this is probably the most major one we'll probably ever go through. But it's nice to kind of see that, you know, we really are kind of on the same wavelength when it comes to, you know, really putting out that extra, you know, help and support and, you know, something just to make things a bit easier.
Do you know what's been really lovely, Jay, is that like during lockdown, we've developed some really wonderful relationships with dental professionals that we've engaged with on Instagram, on Facebook and stuff like that. Like we were invited by Mara Miller, who's like the director of the Dental Nurse Network, Nikki Rowland, who has Practices Made Perfect, and Stephanie, who's one of the Dental Nurse Network's tutors. And we just set up like this support panel. Well, we was doing it once a week, and then it was once a fortnight and once a month. And it was just like a safe space that was open to everyone. And one thing that I'm really passionate in is like inclusivity and just being open to all. So with that, it was nice to have an online virtual meeting point, and we had trainees, we had managers, we had dentists, we had people like around the world join on to these meetings. And it was at a time where no one knew what was happening, no one knew about what would need to be put into place. And I remember Roderick's at the time had shared on LinkedIn, I think they were like the first one to sort of share something to say, this is what our return to work will look like. And I thought that was such an absolute power move of them to do that, because that then sort of paved the way or shared some insight into what it is we're going to return back to at a time where it was like the fear of the unknown. And that was the time where we were hearing from a lot of dental nurses saying that they don't want to continue being a dental nurse, that they want to consider different career options, and can we help them maybe with some of that direction on what it is that they could do now. And I think it would be a great shame to lose dental professionals for this reason. It's starting to settle a little bit more now, but that's really what inspired us to develop our treatment coordinating course. If we're losing qualified dental nurses or experienced dental nurses as dental nurses, keep them in the practice, give them another role so that they can still then be in the practice, they can train or shadow other trainees coming in, they can still be part of the team, they can still help the practice's growth as well. So that's something that we've tried to be mindful of. Okay, like, we're going to lose you this aspect, but actually it's career progression for you, so actually we'll celebrate it rather than, I don't know, feel any other way about it, I guess.
I mean, it's a really good way to look at it. I mean, we recommend having monthly one-to-ones, with the practice manager and the team as well. So it kind of like falls hand in hand with what you're saying, is just to make sure that you are available if people do need to talk to you. So it's it's a really good thing. We also held webinars for our clients every Monday during lockdown, just so that we could give a little bit back, just to, people weren't really doing much, so we kind of gave them things to do that they could still be active in their community. They could still do things online, certain things. So it's a shame that we didn't know each other back then, because we could have jumped on and connected.
Well, we have, I mean, interestingly, I completely forgot to mention it, but we have a coffee club every Friday morning at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And the link's on our Instagram page, and that has been so nice, because again, we've had people just check in, all roles. It's casual. It's not at all, let's talk about this today, or it's not set topics. It's just a check-in place for people that aren't working or aren't clinical. And we've had people check in from in between dental treatment, which has been really nice. And they just pop in, say hello, be like, oh, I've got a crown prep, I've got to go. But it's just nice to see their lovely faces and sort of see them at work and busy and still enjoying, everything that it is that they're doing. But it varies. Like, 1 week we might have one dentist on, and actually one of the dentists that we've had on is one of our community members that we placed at a practice a couple of years ago, that's now getting into skin treatment, and now she's developing and building her own brand. So even though it's completely different from our relationship that we had when we placed her in our client's practice a couple of years ago, now we're like, okay, well, I've set up my brand, I've got that business insight. So now we've been talking to her about website development and search engine optimization and stuff like that. And it's just nice that our relationship's growing together, and we're still able to have these really interesting conversations. So that was one example. Another example is that we had a dental nurse that wants to do dental hygiene and therapy. And then Anna Middleton, the London hygienist, popped on. And I think our dental nurse was a little bit starstruck, oh my God. And then it turned into a bit of a coaching session, and Anna was really kind and was able to sort of guide her into the right pathways. And it's just nice. That sense of community, I think, is really needed. And it's just been nice to see that. I think once upon a time, I think there was quite a divide between dentists, hygienists, therapists, dental nurses, or some practices. It felt like there was, I don't want to say clickiness, but the set roles were separate.
Yeah, I think sometimes.
And I think now it's more inclusive. There's that more team value there.
Yeah, because I think sometimes what you find is that there might be a little bit of intimidation. You have the front of house, and then you've obviously got the dentists. So I think sometimes there is a little bit of, as you said, not so much clickiness, but almost a separation. So it's good that you can maybe offer somewhere where you've got receptionist nurses that are comfortable speaking to other people in possibly higher positions, and I think that's kind of what brings the whole team together, is when everybody's on the same page.
And there's absolutely no egos either. So that's what works really well. Everyone's just happy to help each and every person at whatever stage of their careers that they're in. So that's been really, really powerful and really inspiring and empowering to be a part of. But I guess coming back to your monthly one-to-ones, if it's not in the calendar, if it's not in the diary, something else will come up. A patient will call, there'll be an emergency, and you won't stick to that commitment. So I think it's really important to diarise that set time to make sure that your team member, your colleague, is benefiting from having that time with you. But also like morning huddles, monthly team meetings again, or like just bringing the full team together. So people, because you spend so much time at work, don't you? You want to feel part of that family. One thing that I introduced to our practice meetings before was stop and start. So like stop doing this, but start doing this. So start with something that's like, and it could be something like stop leaving your cups in the sink, start washing up, or something like that, right? But you know, another example was like, it was like stop being so hard on yourself or overly critical because you're really good at what you do, and start, I don't know. It was a nice thing to do because we just went round in a circle and randomly picked someone. But then with that, it meant that, oh, okay, like my work is being acknowledged, or the way that I handled the situation, or the way that I spoke with a patient the other day has been picked up by my nurse, and that's obviously inspired them. But I think sometimes we don't have the opportunity to have those conversations with people, and they're the little daily pick-me-ups that we all need, just as that bit of encouragement.
I think especially because sometimes you don't even realise it. You know, I'm fortunate to work in a very, very strong team, and like we're literally family to each other. So I normally know by Callie, she'll come say like, Jane, let's have like 5 minutes or something like that, and she'll be like, oh, I can see that something's going on, talk to me about it, before I even am aware that, you know, obviously if I'm a little bit overwhelmed, or, you know, I need to do some planning or something like that, it's kind of like we're really in sync where, you know, you can kind of spot that. So, you know, I can see where you're coming from, because it is good to kind of have that pick me up, because all of a sudden if you do a little game like that and you feel better, you're like, oh, actually I feel better, but I didn't know that I was kind of a bit low.
Yeah.
So.
I feel really lucky and really fortunate in that, like I sort of done my intro, but so when I launched in February, Luke, who is literally my right arm, I've grown up with him since I was a baby. He's like my chosen family. He works with me. He joined me in June. And it's so lovely for me to have his support, in that nothing's ever a problem. Like we enjoy working together. We enjoy what we do. Like we've introduced like a word of the week that it's something that we've always done. It's something that I did when I was a practice manager, but it's only something really now that I'm starting to post on social media about, because we have these conversations with our candidates and with our clients, and they're like, oh, you should share it because like that's really nice. So we've only really started sharing it this year. What are we?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it feels so much longer than February already, doesn't it? January was a long year. And we started doing that, but actually our word of the year is authentic and authenticity. And I think as long as you do something that feels right, just like go within, go with your gut. That's another thing that we say. You said, how do you decipher the good from the bad applicants? I don't think it's like the good and bad word wise, but you know, we'll stick with that. Like, I guess, who's suitable for you? I think you have a gut feeling. We all have that gut feeling, and we know if you're umming and ahhing about someone, that's probably not the right move for you.
Yeah.
Trials are really good. Invite someone on for a trial. Now, we would really like to encourage people to, I mean, if they're dental experience and they're going to be hands-on, I think shadowing is very different to a trial. If you've got a dental nurse coming in and that dental nurse is expected to work with you for a day, pay the dental nurse. If you've got someone that's on reception that has experience in dental reception and they're going to be answering the phones, pay them, because they're working with you. I think trials are really good. I'm just really conscientious of people being exploited, people giving up a day of their time, traveling into different practices and whatnot, and not being remunerated for it.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to see that they're committed and stuff, but they're already committed by wanting to do that in the first place and attending your interview and applying for the role. So that's one thing that I would say. You get for a good foot, exactly. Like that person that's attended the trial with you will have so much respect for you, and also word gets around. Like I think if someone was to attend a trial and not hear back and not be paid, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. And that's not exactly the sort of image that you would want to reflect of you, your business, your brand, your practice. So that's another thing that I think is definitely worth mentioning.
I think also, so as you just touched on the reputation as well. So it is always good to, look at, retaining your team, but also you don't want to be in a position where you're recruiting for the fact that somebody's left. It would be better to recruit because you've had to move them out to a different position. So kind of it moves on to like the question, like, why do people leave?
Yeah.
You need to be able to, like, if you're recruiting, it needs to be for a good reason, that your dental nurse has moved on to do hygiene, or they've gone on to do dentistry or facial aesthetics or something like that, and you kept them in your team because you have that. Then you can also get your dental nurse that's obviously progressed. She has that story and that reputation to probably put out to the world and say, her experience as a dental nurse. But it's not the fact that because I think what I see is that if you've got people that are saying they're recruiting all the time, it kind of makes you think, why? Why are they always recruiting? Why, what is wrong with them, basically?
Yeah, well, if they've got a high turnaround, that's it. And do you know what? Like, I'm not going to at all sugarcoat it. We have heard some absolute horror stories with some of the, not from us or from our clients, but we've received thousands of applicants, so thousands of conversations. Why are you leaving? And it just seems it's a hard one, isn't it? But we do hear some horror stories, but we're really lucky in that, I guess, when it's your own thing, you can be picky with who you work with. Because I'm a registered dental nurse, there's been occasions where if something doesn't feel right, I've gone in and I've locumed and I've got a sense of the practice, the team, and tried to figure out, okay, what is working here? And we've been really, there's been quite a bit of dishonesty from some previous clients as well, which is, it's a shame. But I feel fortunate to be in that position, because actually I think where I had a bad experience before when working with a recruitment agency, I'm really sensitive to who it is we're sending our community members to. I want to send them into practices that are going to embrace them, empower them, inspire them, help them progress in their careers. But for it to be a nice environment for them to go and grow within, which sort of touches base on your question that you asked previously about retention and why it's important. It's just, I've seen practices where the dental nurse has been there for years and years and years. There's been so many people come in and go, but that dental nurse feels so loyal to the practice and will never leave, because everyone comes and goes. And if that person leaves, then the practice is going to just fall under its feet. And that's a lot of pressure to put on one person, and that they're conversations that we're having more frequently than we would like to. Okay, so tell me about what is blocking people from getting these jobs. Because obviously we have a couple of clients at the moment that are actively looking for positions, mainly dental nurses, but we have people that are looking for other positions. So what is it that's actually stopping people? You've got the application, why aren't they getting filled? What seems to be the most common reason? I think pay is a big one. And I think that's what's really driven dental nurses to leave their hourly rate with an existing practice and then have either joined a temping agency, or they're freelancing and they're nursing on their own. So there needs to be some sort of consistent pay scale for dental nurses, because it is a competitive market, even more so now than ever before. But if a dental nurse knows that agencies charge however much and that they can charge however much, if they were to go on their own, then of course they're going to do it. I mean, it's, then it weighs up the employed versus self-employed benefits, pros and cons for each. But I don't know, I think also it was highlighted that dental nurses weren't always valued. And I think during the practice closures, there was a breakdown of communication. And I think for a lot of people that were already unhappy within their role, I think that was enough for them to be like, oh, do you know what, this is an opportunity for me to think of different options. So a lot of the nurses that we've been speaking to have been asking us about facial aesthetics as well, which I guess I can see that growing to be another role. Like 2 years ago, there wasn't too many treatment coordinators, but that's a role that's advanced now. Now everyone wants to be a treatment coordinator. And I think it's going to be the same for facial aesthetic technicians, I think they're called, in that dental nurses want to feel a little bit more hands-on. And there's that great demand for aesthetics as well. So that's just like an insight on some of the conversations that we've been having and on what seems to be a popular trend at the moment.
I think we see facial aesthetics moving forward, especially in dentistry, because, you wouldn't necessarily know that your dental practice could do facial aesthetics. It's not something that you'd really, you see a lot of it, put on social media that people are doing it personally, like for their own, completely apart from dentistry. But then, it's not something that necessarily is pushed to as a marketing technique.
Well, we can't really market it, isn't it, in that ethical sales in dentistry. We're there to provide a professional service. It's an essential healthcare service, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I think it's a struggle at the moment, but I think it's definitely a good in, especially if you're looking for, if it's something that the practice is possibly open to provide, moving out of lockdown and obviously becoming more of a certain thing. It's a good career move to get them involved in it.
So much that any dental professional, any role has so much potential, and actually all they need is a leader from their principal dentist or their manager to say, what is it that we can help you with? Like, where do you want to be? What can we support you with in terms of your personal and your professional development? And then with that as well, if you're committed to them, they're going to be committed to you. I honestly feel like training and retaining is probably the most sustainable way to balance out any discrepancies between people coming and going, and also how you talk to your team members, how you talk to your colleagues, stuff like that.
Perfect. So we've really hit home to exactly what you're about, and the advice that you can give to dental practices when we're looking at recruitment, because we know that at the moment there is a lack of nurses, and then the way things are going, if things don't change with your train and retain, we're going to see a bigger shortfall for
massively. But we're already seeing it. So one thing that we can support practices with, and we're doing this just because we want to help trainee dental nurses find their feet and get into practices. If we can support any dental practices in finding a trainee, we've partnered with lots of different training schools, so we'd be really, really happy to do that. And I'm happy to completely just scrap the fee for trainee dental nurses, because I really feel like unless we do something now, we're not going to have enough dental nurses in the future. We're going to have agencies providing a lot of temporary work, which is great for that business and that industry, but sustainability wise, it's not great for the small village practices that can't find dental nurses. It's not good for the stress that puts onto other team members. So I think if you're trying to build that nice staff team wellness and good working environment, you need consistency. So any practices that are looking to for any role, we recruit for all roles, everything from receptionists to dentists, compliance managers, radiographers, dental technicians. We can do it all. But if anyone is particularly looking for a trainee dental nurse or just wants to have a coffee and a chat to hear their options, really happy to hear from them, really happy to support them, really happy to put them forward to our dental course leads to introduce some of the community members that we have available.
I think it's a really, really good in for people as well, because as you said, it's good to kind of get someone fresh. You know, you can get someone in that hasn't been burned, they haven't had a bad, you know, experience with another practice. You know, they are happy with their, you know, with choosing a career rather than have been in a career possibly for, you know, a few years, and then they're not really overly happy, but a job's come up, so they're going to go for it, and then you're going to move. And, you know, so I think having someone in as a trainee is a very good way to go, because you do have that way to mould them as well. So you can bring them in,
Absolutely.
learn the values, learn all of your service standards, and, you know, their expectations on what you can, you know, perceive to them.
Yeah. And actually, I think there's this perception of trainees being younger applicants, but it doesn't need to be. Like we've had all different age groups apply for our trainee positions, and I think practices should sort of really be open to a versatile team, and I think that they should actively look for diverse team members as well, because that's what it works when you've got different people from different backgrounds and different experiences. You know, they've got different strengths that they can share amongst their team members.
Sometimes I think when you've got just looking at someone that maybe going back to what you said about not having dental experience, you know, you might find somebody that has the most amazing personality that you know is going to be, you know, bubbly front of house, you know, start them off at reception, get them in as a trainee dental nurse. You know, that it's something that you can, you know, you're progressing with their career. It's good to kind of get them off. They don't have an experience, but you're kind of putting, you know, your capabilities into that.
And actually, like, another question to include into the interview is to ask them about what their mindset is. Some people know, like, you know, I guess the technical terms is like you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, but just try to give them examples. Ask them for give them some scenario-based questions, like how would they respond? Now, how they respond might not be how you'd like them to, and that's okay, because it might be that they've never experienced this before. But what you're looking for is someone that has that growth mindset to be like, oh, if I'm completely honest with you, that's not something I've dealt with before, but what would you like me to do in this situation? Like, how would you manage it? That's them then showing that they're compliant and they're willing to learn. They're willing to work in a way that represents how you would like their patients treated or welcomed, or so it's consistent throughout the whole team. So I definitely introduced some scenario-based questions. One of the scenario-based questions for like admin or receptionists is if someone calls, needs an emergency appointment, but there isn't any emergency appointments available, talk me through the steps that they would take. And that's when you get a good insight. And again, you don't necessarily have to have experience in that. You just have to have common knowledge, and you just need to be able to portray how you would care, reassure, and communicate with the team to manage that patient in the best way.
Perfect. So you've given us some really good tips and some really good advice on recruitment, and obviously, you know, it's been very, very useful, and I'm sure that our clients that are going to be watching this are going to get some really good insight from it. So I just want to go through the agency concept with you. Like, what is the benefit of working with yourself as an agency? I know that you've kind of separated yourself from the typical agency, because we know that a lot of people have bad you know, perceptions of what an agency is, and people try to like stay away from them as much as possible.
I guess exactly that, and that's why we've had to be creative. And I mean, everything that we do is done out of like we love doing it, and it's come from a place where we felt let down before. So if we're speaking with them, often we speak from clients and they say, I've had a bad experience with an agency before, and I'm like, I know, me too. That's why we've developed Diamond Dental staff. But I think it's really important for us to make the time to listen to where they felt that they were let down before, and then share an insight as to how we work and how or why we're different, or what mitigation that how we mitigate to not make those sort of same mistakes. We're a small team, and I think I think maybe before I really knew how recruitment agencies worked. So like now I know, and I think if I'm being honest, it could be that maybe the recruitment consultant that I worked with before didn't want to lose their commission, so didn't want to answer my calls or respond to my emails. But we're really not like that. We're really people focused, and we're looking to support our clients. We're looking to support our community members, so our applicants, for long term. Like, we're building a community, something that I felt was missing in my employment, and that's why we're really passionate in building our network. If we can't help someone in finding a practice right now, we want to help them with their personal development instead, or professional development. So that's why we sort of grouped with different course providers to understand what opportunities are available to them, what would strengthen their application. So then when we do have conversations with potential clients, we can say, okay, we've got this person, they've completed this course, or they're registered, they've enrolled onto this course, and everything just sort of ties in a little more. We just have that personal touch, I think, and I think that's potentially what has been lacking. But yeah.
So for me, it's coming across that you're very both sides. You know, you're not working for the dental practice, you're not working specifically for the candidate, you're working for everybody, because
it's 50-50.
Yeah, exactly. For you, it's as much as getting a good fit for the, you know, it's not about just placing somebody and hoping they stick. It's about getting the right fit straight away, so that technically you're handing someone over the perfect person to retain them throughout their career.
Yeah, I guess one of the questions that we hear a lot is, like, we've got a rebate period, a 12-week rebate period, and that if anything was to happen, then the client that's paid for our services to find them this person will receive a refund or a replacement, or however that looks to them. But honestly, that's never been a problem. Like, we've never come across that. We have during COVID, but that's because people wanted to move back to their family home, or, you know, anxiety. A lot of people developed a lot of anxiety around traveling and commuting and wanting to find local practices. And for those sort of practices, they were outside of that rebate period, but we were still committed to helping. We're not going to say, oh, sorry, you're, I don't know, 2 months past your rebate period. That's not at all who we are. Like, we're there to support them, and we'll help with whatever we can help with. So alongside the recruitment side, we've been doing like business consultancy services as well. So it's great to connect with you guys as marketing experts, because now, like, we've got that relationship. We can say, okay, like, you know, we can just introduce people, and that's why it's important for us to build the network, bringing everyone in together.
Exactly. I mean, this is the thing, is that we've never really, I mean, we've always handled recruitment through ads and advertising, website updates, spreading the word. But I think it comes to the point where, you know, there has to be something more available. And then obviously it was Anna that obviously introduced us. So it was really good to kind of be introduced to you guys and find out the amazing work that you're doing, because you are completely different. You know, you're a small team like we are. You know, it's something that we're really conscious of, obviously keeping things small, because we want to make sure that our clients are, you know, serviced well, and that we have that relationship with everybody. It's really, really important for us to have that relationship where we can pick up the phone, or they can pick up the phone, and we can kind of just get to the bottom and make these solutions to any challenges they have. And it seems that you guys are very similar in that way, that every single person matters. So
yeah, and it's nice that, you know, that's the way that we align. But I think, like, going back to our word of the year, just being authentic to who we are, how we want to work. Because I guess a lot of people have asked me, like, how did you get into recruitment? Like, did you work for recruitment before? And it's not that I did. It's not like something that I thought, I want to set up my recruitment company and make loads of money, because that's never been our goal. I just wanted to build something that I felt was missing, and something that I knew that I could give a lot to, I can get a lot out of. And yeah, I think that's who we are. That's who we want to be. We have had like investment opportunities come forward, but we don't want to be that corporate, we don't want that. We like how we're working. We like things small. When it's small, it means that we can manage it in a way that we know and like to. And also what's really lovely is that we've got, I don't know if you can see him, he's been a very good boy.
Hey!
Here's another crucial member of our team, Mr. Bojangles. And it's just really lovely because, you know, when we can meet our community members and applicants for a coffee and interview them face to face, that'd be great. But in the meantime, he's a lovely icebreaker to have for our nervous people that are attending interviews.
Yeah.
And he's quite popular on socials as well, so it's just nice to break it up a little bit.
Perfect. Okay, so Emma, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover with you as well today. So thank you so much for joining me on this interview.
Oh, pleasure.
And
thank you so much for having me.
No, we will definitely be in contact soon. And you know, if you've got anything coming up or anything that you want to maybe share, you know, if there's anything that you're doing, just let us know. We can obviously get going.
Okay. Great stuff. Also, just before we end, just a massive thank you to Anna Middleton as well for introducing us to you.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Thank you so much,
thank you.
Thank you.